I'm still, this whole thing feels so weird. Hi, I'm the Digital Mermaid, and I just finished my Victron training, and very kindly, we have Lance with Victron, who's offered to answer some of your questions.
Hello, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome.
Thanks for coming out to the training.
It was fun.
Excellent.
So, Gordon Y. and others asked variations on the question, what does salt water do to Victron and the salt air? What do you do to protect your equipment in marine environments?
So we do have, in essence, like a lacquer finish over top of our PCB boards.
Conformal coating?
Pardon?
Yes, conformal
it is.
Coating?
Thank you. Yes. I'm not being the techie guy.
No,
it is a conformal coating over it. And then we do make certain devices that are IP listed. So we start off in basically an IP 2.0, which is 2 is the dust and 0 is the water. And then we get up to an IP67 devices, so which is basically our devices that can actually work underwater, like our battery chargers, some of our battery chargers. But generally speaking, no, they're dry environment products. You don't want to, they're not designed to go underwater. They're electrical, but they are designed for the marine industry, and provided you're using proper lugs and wire, then you shouldn't have any issues with that. They've been in service in the marine industry a long time, so you want to keep it obviously dry and try to reduce as much salt as you can in it. And I always, on smaller boats, prefer it not to see in the engine room because you usually get mist and water dust in there.
Okay. One of the big parts with Victron is that they're pretty much the premium quality. So, especially a lot of the viewers in our channel is DIY. They might be wondering sometimes, I can get these components relatively inexpensive from vendor X. I don't really care because the marine environment kills everything anyway. How often, or how long do you find in a typical private sailor's boat, do you find Victron gear lasts before it dies? I know that's a very loaded question.
We offer up to a 10-year warranty, so we're pretty confident that our stuff will last at least that long. We still have gear that's been in the marine environment for over 35 years, so that's still operating. So even as a DIYer, no, it's not, a lot of these things aren't waterproof, but they are designed to be in that atmosphere. You do have to take some protection. We're not going to say that things aren't going to corrode, because they are, but that is, everything on your boat's going to be corroding. So that's something that you would have to look after regularly anyway. So checking battery terminals and making sure that you haven't mounted some devices where there's a lot of moisture. Dielectric grease works really well too. So.
Excellent, thank you. Heiner Schmitz, I hope I pronounced your name right. Is it possible to connect 2 chargers at the same time to increase charge speed? Do some Victron chargers, inverters, support this and others not?
Almost all of our chargers and inverter chargers now support that. All of our CAN bus systems now our VE CAN systems, they'll coordinate and synchronize their charging. The inverters, when they're connected together, obviously do the same thing because they're acting as one unit. And now our smart chargers, once you set them up with VE Smart networking, they'll also start to coordinate and synchronize their charging. So yes, you can take a couple of 30 amp IPP22 chargers and make them communicate together on VE Smart, and they will act as a single charger. So the answer to the question is yes. Almost all of our chargers, except a few of the chargers such as this Centaur and things like that, that are basically designed as a standalone.
Okay, so I'm certainly going to pronounce this name wrong. I'm very sorry. Pietje NL. How to charge with multi-plus based on time, like low tariffs times. I know this came up in the training yesterday, but I want to elaborate on this a little bit to make sure that the frame of the question is clear. In a lot of places, including where I'm from, say 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. can be twice the fee of 7 p.m. to 7 a.m.
Yes.
So I know that there's an interest in people who are doing home batteries, Tesla Powerwall type, DIY Powerwalls.
Yes.
where they want to run off the batteries from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., so long as it's charging the batteries, and then at 7 p.m. automatically turn on the Quattros line in 1, or the Multiplus or whatever, to charge up during the cheap time. So is that something you can do?
So a time shift, basically. Yes. You would have to have some sort of GX device, so a Venus device or the Servo color controller, something like that. And then within the VE bus configuration, you can set up with an assistant, you can set up a timing for the charger of the inverter to turn on and off, so that you can prioritize certain times that it will work. Once again, you do need to have a GX device because that is what's going to be doing the timing. Preferably something that has Wi-Fi or internet access, so it's got a basis to do that timing. And then you will have to program it with the assistant. And you can get to the assistants if you go to Victron Professional. You can go in, and we do have a whole a video on actually a training on doing assistance with the VE bus system, and then you can set your timing and have the inverter charge during those times. You can also within that, you can also set it up so that if your batteries were getting low and you did need a charge, that it can also work on a state of charge as well. So both ways.
John Emmert asks, do they have better documentation on VE bus or CAN bus commands and registers? Expanding on that, does Victron have a developer's program that's generally available?
There is. You can get all that information off of the website. What you want to do is go to the search function and press in communication protocol, and you're going to, about the first 5 things that come up on there are will point you to all of those items that he's requesting. After that, if you're still looking to dig deeper, then I really suggest getting onto Victron Community and just put in what you want to do, and you'll notice that there'll be several people, if not hundreds of people, that have tried this already and are working with those programs to develop their own systems.
Does Victron have or plan to have a published API for any of your systems?
A published API?
Where it's documented, like, okay, here, any product that supports API version X will support these types of queries and responses and whatnot. If you send this type of command, you'll get this type of response.
Yes, there is. In fact, it is already printed on one of the white papers, where it gives you the protocols and then what the APIs are, so that you can deal with them.
Basso Balalaikka, I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, asked, does Victron have an exchange program if customer wants to upgrade their systems to a more expensive version with larger current voltage or better features? And I think in general, that might be a question framed as, is there an exchange program at Victron?
No, there isn't.
Okay.
There is no exchange program. If you're looking at upgrading, if it's an older unit that doesn't have the features that people are looking for today, we don't offer an exchange program. You may find that the dealer that is actually selling it might offer an exchange program, but Victron itself doesn't.
Okay.
That is something that a dealer or distributor could offer, but it's not something that Victron Energy does offer.
Building on that question, Victron does, though, have no problem supporting all the products that communicate with the VRM, for example. I know this came up in the training yesterday. If a unit is sold to a third party, like, I buy my Quattro and then down the road I decide I want to switch to whatever. If I sell that, and you mentioned in the example of I forgot to deregister it with my product, the new owner could reach out to you, prove that they've purchased it, and then you'll work with them to make sure that they can get access to that system. So
absolutely, yes. We're never going to leave a product alone. We stand behind them for the 5 years. We stand behind them for a lot longer than that, obviously. But no, Victron's set up so that any person that has one of our devices can get support from us, regardless of whether they've purchased purchased it through a third party, or if you have a friend and you want to upgrade and you've sold your friend your multi because you wanted a quattro, we're going to support your friend as well.
Or the example you gave yesterday, which I thought was great, is you sell your boat and all of the gear in it, or you buy a used boat and all the gear in it, and the previous owner didn't deregister it. The new owner can work with you guys, and you'll help them out in getting everything moved over.
You've inherited or purchased that equipment, be it somebody else might have installed it. You still want to use it. We still want to make sure that you're getting the full capacity out of it and happy with our product. So.
OnTheLake asks, I would like to know if there is the ability to add your own touchscreen to the Serbo GX. I would like to have a 15 or 20 inch screen I can see from a distance or with a security camera.
Yes, so we did discuss this in the training. It has come up over and over again. On the Serbo, the touchscreen is an HDMI. You do not have to have our touchscreen. It works very well. It's a nice form factor, but if you do want to extend that and have a larger screen, you can use another touchscreen. I personally have never done it. I have seen a few applications where they have. You would have to sort of test with it and make sure that the touchscreen works properly. I've also been told by one of our dealers that they've actually connected a computer screen to it and then used the mouse as the touch screen as the pointer, and actually operated the Serbo that way as well. So yes, you have that ability.
I just had a thought that might be of interest to some of the viewers, again, DIYers. I could imagine, especially people doing cold climate sailing, you have your gloves on. If you had a trackball that you mounted set up to the screen, so you don't have to worry about the touch.
You could roll the trackball around and tap the trackball, and then you'd be...
And then you could do it with like heavily gloved hands.
Exactly, yes.
Excellent. All right, so the last question was asked by a few people, but it's my own personal biggest question, is grounding on a boat, especially grounding on a boat without a traditional motor, where you've got an electric propulsion system. A lot of the documentation on grounding says, tie everything back to the engine. There is no engine. This ties into UHF radio, grounding, lightning suppression. Grounding is a huge topic, one that we can't really fill in this quick session. What resources are available?
And we probably won't. And grounding is something that we could probably talk about for hours, and I'm not an expert in grounding. But I do have, I am ABYC certified, and I've been in the marine industry for over 20 years now. So we've done a lot of grounding and bonding.
Different things.
They are totally different things. It all comes back to something being connected to the engine typically, or a negative bus bar, or in fact it would be the grounding bus bar. Even in an electric propulsion, we're still looking for some way to mitigate a galvanic action and that voltage difference. So we do need to get the electrons out into the ocean. A lot of times, often now I think what you're going to find is people are putting ground plates on their boats when you're getting into electric propulsion, so that you may be using the ground plate instead of your battery negative, or a combination of those to give those electrons, be it from a lightning strike or from what have you, out to your ground plane, which is basically the ocean. It still doesn't stop you from grounding the electric motor to the propeller shaft and having that, because you've got a whole bunch of dissimilar metals going on, and you want to be able to zinc those or have some sort of cathodic protection to them. So it's still going to be important to have those items bonded and grounded when you're looking at your whole system. The bonding issue combined with grounding is you could go on for days about that. But generally speaking, if you're looking at a boat, ABYC has very specific standards of how they want things bonded and grounded, and following those, regardless of whether you have a diesel motor, a gas motor, or an electric motor, isn't really going to change that much. As far as the lightning strikes, for grounding and dissipating that. There are several different theories, and generally speaking, I would still use an ABYC standard. A lot of businesses have written things about it and what they feel should be done, and done a lot of testing. You can also find a lot of information on grounding and that in our Wiring Unlimited. Marguerite goes through a whole chapter just on that. And of course it's going to park out right out in front of us, which is fine, but...
Alright, continuing.
Continue. Here we go. Break. Pause. Cut.
Big truck.
Edit. Big truck.
So you were just starting to talk about the...
energy... First of all, Energy Unlimited, which is more about battery charging, things like that. But the Wiring Unlimited, which is available through the technical publications from Victron, we devote a whole chapter to grounding and grounds and grounding and the importance of those. Because of course you still have to make the boat safe. You don't want somebody touching something and electrocuting themselves. You definitely don't want to be discharging electricity into the ocean
through your prop shaft,
or what have you. Going into the ocean is actually a lot safer than when you get into brackish or fresh water, which because the ocean saltwater is a great electrolyte, fresh water isn't, but you as a person are an incredible electrolyte. So that is a safety concern of making sure the grounds are done properly so that you're not pushing that power into the water, where the incorrect power into the water, where you can create a circuit with your body. So.
Thank you very much.
How's that for a short answer? Not a long time.
Right dead on time.
11:30.